You have more tech in your pocket than NASA had in 75. But are you happier?
Groceries cost more. Rent is insane. Well, if you can FaceTime your grandma in 4K, I think everything is fine, right?
Is the world actually better in 2025 than it was in 1975? Welcome back to ThinkTalk. I'm Malik.
And I'm Ibra, and today we are doing something special. We are time traveling.
Is life better in 2025 or was 1975 the golden age? We'll be breaking it down globally and then diving into Nigeria, the US, and then the UK.
From the economy to dating, from medicine to meaning of life, we are looking at the full picture. Let's get into it.
So, as I mentioned, we're going to be looking at it from 4 different segments. We'll start with the whole world. We'll then go into Nigeria, then the US, and then the UK. So to start with the world, Ibra, global GDP is up, life expectancy is up, and yet everyone is burnt out. How does that make sense?
Yeah, we are richer, faster, smarter, but somehow lonelier. That's the paradox of progress, I guess.
Yep, it really looks like that, right? But let's get into it in more concrete points. I want to start with the economy, Ibra. Comparing 2025 to 1975, what do we have with the economy? In summary, the global GDP per capita has increased drastically, lifting over 1 billion people out of extreme poverty. But inequality has widened, and much of the wealth is concentrated at the top. So the question for you, Ibra, is global prosperity progress? Is it progress if it only benefits a few?
I don't think it is actually. I feel like for sure it's also not realistic if you say it has to be for everyone. I think at the end of the day it doesn't work like that. But if it's not few, maybe the keyword is majority of the people, I think then for sure we can call that prosperity, right? But if we can look around and see that benefit like maybe 70% of the people, then yeah, I don't think it's prosperity.
I fully agree with you. The way I look at it is that the world population is growing. There's more money in the world today, but then we have this problem of oligarchs all over the world, right? The money is just concentrating at some point somewhere, right? It's concentrating at the top, and it's like the top 0.1 or 1%. Then you have the middle class that used to be people that were doing more than surviving. They were actually living life and being happier. Now the story of the middle class changed, right? Of course, a lot more people are no longer in poverty, but at the same time, the middle class is no longer now living life on their own terms. They are really just surviving now. They are not poor, but they're we are That's how I feel, honestly.
yeah, that's right. But anyway, continue. I wanted to like call you out on something before you get kidnapped. When you say like they, I'm like, you know, when you say like the middle class are like they, then you now say we, and I'm like, okay, maybe people.
Oh yeah, I mean it's mental, you know. Like we're there, we're just surviving. We are, and then the top, they are living a crazy life that we cannot imagine, influencing everything, making us completely powerless. It wasn't the case before. Of course, we didn't have as big a middle class, but then if they did not shift the goalpost of what middle class meant, I would argue that we have more poor people today than back in the day. Maybe not poverty or extreme poverty, but for sure, many of us are just poor in life. Do you know what I mean? We might think we have 100,000, 200,000, but what does that do today in actually making you free?
That's actually the point. I feel like the idea where we feel like now I'm a millionaire or now I have so amount, what can that get you today? The point is money is definitely losing meaning. And I think that's the difference. It's like you could be in 1900 or 1920, like you could be having $20,000 in your account and you are well off, you are good, you can get a home, you can, you get the idea. But now it's like with the inflation and everything, like it's not the same. So we can't really use that number directly like that as a KPI for prosperity,
For prosperity, exactly. I fully agree, honestly. Global prosperity progress compared to 75, I think in the grand scheme of things, we have retrogressed. Now, for health, Ibra, I'll throw this question to you this way. Look at this.
Okay.
Global life expectancy rose from approximately 60 years in 1975 to approximately 72.5 as of 2020. So this means that somehow health-wise, being able to stay alive longer has improved. But mental health conditions, especially depression and anxiety, it has gone up drastically. Does living longer means we are living better? Does it even matter considering all these other new things?
You know how I'm going to respond to that? I will respond to that by giving you this line from a famous rapper. I'm here for a good time, not a long time, you know. I hope I feel blessed. I feel like at the end of the day, we have to really question what it means to live longer. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Yeah, as a child, you know, you'll be like, oh yeah, you want to live long and everything, for sure. I mean, I don't want to die young, but at the end of the day, what is the meaning of life that is full of suffering and you get like 100 years of that? So for sure, we have to really start looking at the quality of life. The same time we are trying to make health like better for people and people live longer and everything. It doesn't mean anything if you don't have like a good quality, like good experience of life. The sad thing is, I think the only reason why in my head I can justify that when I think about it is they need workforce. Like society need people to still keep things running, and they don't care about you having to enjoy any of these things, but they need you to be alive enough to work and to maintain and build things for society for a very selected few.
Yeah, but when you then think about the fact that the health issues only come at the point when you are no longer in the workforce, and you now sort of put pressure on everyone in the workforce, especially when you look at systems like in the Western world, where pension systems that require people in the workforce to actually take care of the old people. The more old people you then have, the more pressure on the workforce as well, the more they take out of your salary every month. I want to answer this in a very clear way. I think the idea of being able to live healthy, we now understand better what fitness, going to the gym and all that does for us. I love that idea. But at the same time, when you look at the way mental health conditions are ramping up these days, due to many factors, it's questionable what type of pressure we are dealing with in the world today. We've just had a lengthy conversation now about just simply looking at the world. When you look at the wars all over the place, when you look at the financial system and how it's rigged against us to be able to achieve anything, it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure, and it's the right question of what's the point actually, you know? And there might just be the bias of we are in 2025, we know, but I'll be curious to see people that actually lived in that time in 1975 and before in the 70s, what they felt and what they see youths and other people feeling today, if there's a drastic difference, because I think that matters more than the length. For sure, the quality of life should matter more than the length. And I think the quality of life today is questionable.
What does that even mean in 2025? Like, if I'm to ask you, what is a good quality of life? What does that, is it, I mean, you definitely know that, but like, is that even achievable? That, I think that's the better question. Like,
I think it should be.
But realistically, because it's not for a
realistically,
lot of people,
it should, right? Like, good quality of life does not have to be luxurious life, right? It just has to be good, right? Maybe you don't need, you have 5 kids, you don't need all your kids to have their own separate rooms in your house. You have enough house to make sure that everyone is in rooms where they can breathe well, they are joyful, maybe happiness once in a while, and you don't feel this pressure of there's going to be a time when this might not be possible. Because one of the biggest worry today is also that you're going to live longer, right? And when you think about how long that life will be, there's too much preparation for the future that is not guaranteed.
For sure. And I think that's how they want us to be programmed, right? And I think that works for
so we are stuck in this fucking wheel, running the rat race, because we're like, oh, it's 60 years from now. The good quality of life in summary will be, for me, a life that allows every single one of us to be able to live in the present. It has become a luxury to live in the present.
It's like, yeah. So what would be your answer to that then? Because it feels to me
Honestly, I
like
don't
it's
think for sure living longer does not mean living better. And compared to the past, unfortunately, I don't have the clear statistics on whether they had a better quality of life in the past. For many, many reasons, people will argue differently simply because of course, we'll still discuss it now. Some of the other things that we do have in today's world that simplifies life for us, but those things might have also added problems and pressures. So it's very unclear with this one. I think the only answer that I have for sure is living longer for sure does not mean living better, and we just need to put that at the back of our mind every day as we engage with the world.
I have a final question for you on this, because I feel like, okay, now that you said that, which I'm also I agree with everything, by the way, but I just want to put you on the spot right now.
Yeah, all good.
So there's a genie, and it comes to you and says to you that I will give it $40 million right now, and you get to live 2 more years and you'll be dead. Are you taking it?
No.
So I'm going back to you, living longer than mean living better.
Yeah. Because I don't think living better is solely money related, right? I think sometimes as well, we get to a stage quickly where we can decide. It's a tough choice, but we can decide if we want to prioritize just a quality life, regardless of how much we are making.
You'd argue that that kind of money will give you a good quality of life, to best healthcare system, to good
But then
housing.
it won't give me good quality of life relationship wise, no?
That's
Because
true.
I know that I'm going in 2 years. It wouldn't give me a good quality of life when I think about going before my parents. Good quality of life when I think about it doesn't make sense now to start a family.
I mean, some people will selfishly just impregnate like 20 different girls, right? And just have like,
But I won't get to spend time with those
Elon
kids.
Musk. Some people don't care.
3 months before I go, no matter how much money I have left, I'll be sitting there looking at the kids and thinking, oh my goodness, it'll be so sad. Yeah, I'd never take that. I wouldn't intentionally give up on a longer life as well. So let's make that clear. I can continue to fight and strive for a better quality of life. And in Yoruba, they say, "Tell me about why you're rating there." Once there's life, there's still hope.
There's hope.
So maybe this is the advantage of the health system having improved. Right? That because we can live longer now, we can also be hopeful for longer.
That's the game we are all playing, right? It's the hope game. It's the keep chasing the whole, especially religion, right? Because the Bible also says the same, right? So yeah, which is fair enough, because I don't think life will be worth living if there isn't hope, actually. Because yeah, in general, it's all about better like life, right? So yeah, you might have this, but don't have that. Like you said, it's not just about money and all. So yeah, that makes sense. So are we good on that?
Yep.
The next point would be technology. So from space travel to smartphones, we are more connected and capable than ever. But tech fatigue, addiction, and burnout are part of our daily lives. Are we truly empowered by tech, or enslaved by it, or to it?
That's actually a very good question. I have a very simple answer for this. I'll boil it down to I think we are more empowered by tech than enslaved to it. I think being enslaved to it is a consequence of slight irresponsibility from us being humans. But when you look at tech standalone and we manage ourselves appropriately, it really changes the game. Look at us doing this now. We're having a conversation that's super important, wanting to put it out there. All this has been made possible by tech. In the past, I would have had to jump on a train and jump on a flight to sit in a room with you, and we have to deal with this crazy DSLR camera for hours, and then the editing would have been slow as hell, because who knows where we were even going to edit. Maybe we'll have to shoot and cut, but now we can do this thanks to tech. It could also then be a problem that then everyone is doing it, blah, blah, blah. But I just feel like as individuals or as a community or as a group, if we can manage to be a bit more responsible, we have the choice not to be enslaved. It's a difficult choice because the algorithm, the way the people that actually make money off of our, for example, social media presence, the way they've set it up, they're studying how our brain works and speaking to it directly to enslave us indirectly. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, I would say we still have at least a 20 or 10% chance to fix that. And when we look at the empowerment of tech, it's just so much. Right? The advantage is just so much that on this one, I would definitely say that we have made huge progress since 1975, and I'm very happy for that. With AI, with this, I mean, there are other considerations, anyways. Yeah, there's also the question of it also makes us dumber. At the moment, we're currently only worried about money concentrating at the top. I think with AI at the moment, we have to start thinking about knowledge also concentrating with a few, because everyone will rely on AI and we don't really think in depth anymore. I was speaking to someone yesterday and she said that there is an issue. She wants to be a researcher, right? And she uses ChatGPT a lot to ask direct questions and understand how to fix problems within her research. In the past, what would have happened is you would go into a library, open your book, and read a lot. That at the time that you find a solution to your problems, you have also prepared yourself to be able to solve 15 problems ahead. You don't know they're coming, but because you just had to read through to find it. Today, you have ChatGPT. When those 15 problems come, you can pinpoint just those problems, yeah, and the knowledge is not just the same. The expertise development is not the same. So over time, there will be very few people, a niche of people that choose to continue to develop themselves by reading and and majority will just rely on tech, and we will now have a concentration of knowledge and expertise that would become problematic in the future. That's a prediction, anyways. We don't have it yet, but we're moving in that direction. And that could be a negative impact of tech. However, to keep it within 2025 to 1975, I think I'm happy for the tech advancement. What about you?
Yeah, I think for one, I'm glad that we actually can disagree because we haven't had a lot of that in a while. So I'll definitely say I see differently. I think tech has definitely enslaved us. Yeah, to your point, about now we can do things like we can be in two different locations, but at the end of the day, now tying this to the first point of living longer meaning better life, right? So for me it's about seeing now that I feel like we have a lot of things that we now do that are not absolutely necessary. They are necessary, but maybe would give us a chance at a better quality of life. And that's my issue with technology. And you also said, like, we have people sitting down every day working our psychology, working our brains to make sure we are addicted to this should have never been the case, but unfortunately it is. So in that regard, it also has enslaved us. I feel like most of the things we are running towards, like AI for example, with some exceptions of like maybe in health or like some other fields, right? I feel like, yeah, for sure, I mean, so far they've been good, but the race to the top, I don't understand it. We have other things with our resources, and how like the old generation of these old models, right? They run on very sophisticated models, and like they consume a lot of energy, and the race to the top, I don't get it. It's like, yeah, it might make some work or some fields or whatever a lot better. Like, why are we racing like our lives depend on it? Like I said, aside the health.
Simply business competition. There's one other guy that is trying to conquer the world financially. So competition in business. Just chipping in there, yeah.
For sure. So like but it doesn't, that's not for us. That's for some people to just make more money because they feel like, oh, if we can take this to the next level, this is what it means for us financially. And every tech right now is like that. So that's the incentive for making any sort of product right now. You can have a life-changing tech. If it doesn't save the world, if it doesn't make money, it can save the world, but no one is going to like sort of finance it. Chemotherapy is one of the most expensive like medical bills, right, to have, and no, some people are not for that, hence they are not going to support that. Yeah, for sure, technology has enslaved us, and we could do it right. There's a way to do it right when money is not the incentive, right, or the motivation to do it, but that's not just how the world works, unfortunately.
That's fair. I mean, from a perspective as well, I don't think between the two of us, without defending my position, I think it's a slight perception on what that enslaving means and who has the power and if we can change something, and just looking at tech standalone, what it brings to us, But I think what's more important is see what our viewers will think in the comment section as well. Again, is it empowering, the technological advancement since 1975, or has it enslaved us? I'm curious to see what the people think in the comment section. The next subsection is on cost and standard of living, and we've already discussed a little bit about quality of life. So now we do have more access to goods and services, but inflation, as you mentioned before, debt, housing crisis, it put pressure on individuals. Convenience comes at a cost. Are we living better or just living faster?
I'd say for sure we are living faster, not better. I think this also links to the first point. Yeah, I would just leave it at that. Like we are definitely living faster and not better.
I agree with you on this one as well. I mean, you look at the debt profile of the world at the moment. Oof, Lord of mercy. When you look at the inflation numbers, how many people can actually afford a house today? We talked about it as well when we're talking about the American dream on one of our episodes. It's a mess at the moment, honestly. It's a mess at the moment. So I agree with you. We're definitely not living better. Instead, we're just living faster.
Okay. So that was brief. So the next one we'll be talking about relationships and culture. So, I mean, for sure, the digital age reshaped family dynamics, and dating norms and how we definitely communicate. So loneliness and societal fragmentation are more common now, as we can see. Would you say we lost something essential in going virtual in this regard of relationships and culture?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Like, absolutely. My answer is a very fat yes on this one. Now, it's not that it has, it's crazy that the reason this conversation is interesting to have is just because it's so nuanced. It's unbelievable. Like every single thing, you can make an argument for how it's progress, but you can also make an argument for how it's negative. And I think when we respond, we more respond in our own personal perspective. And I'm thinking about it now that for sure this is an issue. The first thing is just look at how dating works today with the dating website. Dog nonsense. Look at how people instead will prefer to sit on their phone and text rather than go meet each other outside and chit chat and spend time together. I'm actually glad that at least there's a faction of the new generation that wants to be outside and spend time with each other more. Yeah, I'm happy about that. But to be honest, more loneliness, more depression. Society is too fragmented. Yeah, and then you have echo chambers of all over the places. It's just mental, and I think we lost something in human connection. For me, I prioritize that so much, and I know the struggle it is today to create that, to have that. We lost something fundamental. Now, there's a huge advantage that today, the relationship that I'm able to have with my siblings and my parents today, considering that we're all scattered all over the world, is thanks to the advancement that we've had. So in that way, it allows us to build good relationship that we're able to have now, right? Considering that we're also not in the same location, thanks to the advancement. Imagine we have had to, since you relocated from Germany, we have been writing letters and how busy you are. Do you know how many letters you wouldn't have opened by now? So there's a huge advantage because I can get on the phone, quick video call, chit chat. So having relationships that have been created before in person benefits a lot from the digital age, from the new age. But the problem is in being able to create new ones. I think it's getting more and more difficult. And I think one of the best things that makes life exciting is meeting new people, getting to know new people, building new relationships, learning new things in person with people. And that's where we're lacking at the moment. And that's why I still say, even though I see what it does for existing relationships, I hate that it completely disrupted what happens with making new ones. And I think making new relationship is super, super fundamental to cultural development and societal development.
For sure. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I'm also of the opinion that it definitely did something. I mean, for me, I have a different view when it comes to like existing relationships though. I've seen it like personally that I think it sort of makes existing relationships, it drops the quality. Before, you would have to call someone and talk to them to catch up with them. But lately, people have this sort of lazy form of catching up. I mean, for sure, we definitely talk a lot when we want to really talk, right? So I don't think that's true for a lot of people. Maybe that's why you argue for that the way you did. But most people believe that if you ask someone, oh, have you heard from so person? They'll be like, oh, yeah, I saw him post on Instagram the other day. That is catching up to people now. And that doesn't make sense to me. It's like, oh yeah, he posted something on his status and he's in Bali, but he did tell you he's in Bali for holiday or for hospital or for, you just assume because you saw him update like something in so location, this is what he's doing. I guess we are both the same in this regard. And I see where you're coming from, because you also don't post online, I don't post online, but people who do, they might not contact each other for nothing because they just see each other every time and they assume we are catching up. So there's this form of passive catching up and connection that I don't think is necessarily good for existing relationships. But aside that, I feel like for sure with dating, it's a mess. I used dating websites when I was to like younger, right? It's a completely, I don't want to go into that. Okay, I wanted to give a very crazy example. I'm like, nah, let me just give it to myself.
No, go for it. Go for it. I want the example. Let's paint the picture.
My example was so I wanted to compare it to like what it used to be before and what it is now. If you ask any older person, they will tell you for sure. Like, I mean, when we were young, like any 40s, 50s person right now, they will tell you for sure that, what we watched or what we saw growing up was quality. I watched one episode of Till Von, that I forgot the host. I'm the person they brought. They were talking about how the quality shifted, right? It was showing some clips, and I'm like, whoa, that's so true. They were not even using the titles of movies back then. These were like before we were even born, like in the 70s and 80s, right? It's like love making, and these are graphic movie, man. So it's like, it was so romantic. It was more than just slam dunk, if you get what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah. And now you need to catch them.
Exactly.
Once.
It's just like the most graphic thing, the most extreme thing, no sort of connection, no sort of story. It's just, here is it. They call it fast food. Like, I think that's the word. But anyways, that wasn't the point. The point was, I saw a dating website move from a very quality based tool to just sort of this beauty pageant swipe left or right. Because to be honest, these days it doesn't matter what other thing you have going on. The first thing you have to have or you need to have is your looks. Then people that's what brings them to you or bring them to you. Then they can then look down and see, oh, this is the kind of person he is. But nobody really cares about that, man. Like, if you're good looking, you get matches. But dating website were quality stuff. They were, sometimes you might be on a website 1 hour filling your profile back then, because they ask you so much. You sort of do this psychoanalysis, you sort of do so they can match you with this or that. None. All those, it's just fast food now. They just, okay, this is your category in terms of your looks, and that's it. Yeah, for sure. It's been crazy what the digital age has done.
What's your thought on, before, I know you wanted to round up, but I wanted to cut in quickly to say, what about your thought on cultural exchange? When you look at cultural mix and what we take from the different culture, the sort of echo chamber and the cultural standards today globally, do you think culture is still something that is valid or not?
I think from that perspective, right, the damage, it has definitely done some damages. And the most important one that I would like to talk about is the fact that people can then peep. Yeah, I think the right word is peep, right? Then you can look from over the fence what is going on somewhere else. And I think US, for example, I'll use them as an example now. I'll use the country as an example. Like, they've created this sort of illusion of what some things is like feminism, all these things, and all what life is like living here and everything, which might not be ideal for someone living somewhere else in the part of the world, right? But someone somewhere is then arguing for something you see in some Hollywood movie, that, oh, you need to have so this or so that. We have some things that are not even working in the US, but you would think that it is working from the outside, and you feel like a lot of these things are like, I don't want to go into that, but like some of the feminist movement or this and that, like some rights or some things that happen in some places work for those people, and peeping and thinking, seeing something from afar means liberation or means this, or at least that's my opinion. That's what I think, and I feel like digital aid makes that happen Without that,
Yeah.
you don't really know what is happening so far away from you,
Yeah.
and you are very happy with your life, and you don't feel like anything is missing.
Yeah, cultural transfer is happening without the proper contextual engagement
References.
required for it to happen and reference. And now, instead of actually creating more value in culture and building culture that would break grounds and make communities stronger, we now have just destabilization and fights everywhere. And I think it's the point that you have made, that when you peep and you don't understand the context and why it makes sense there or there, yeah, you don't have the right way to work it and bring it into the other pre-existing cultures. And I'm starting to see a trend, right? And it seems like from a global perspective, the world is statistically richer and healthier. Statistically, the technology is mind-blowing. However, we now have deeper inequality, there's cultural fatigue, loneliness is rising. It's a very complex picture, super nuanced as well. What would be your verdict, bro?
Well, I mean, I would say we are a lot better in development, and we are worse off when it comes to forming deeper connection and having better quality of life, for example.
I fully agree. Yeah. Everything is just so much on the surface, and what it means for us in depth, we're just not putting it into the right consideration and using the advantages that we have, not to destroy what we have before, but to make it better. All right, so that's it on the segment of the globe. The next segment we're going to start now is going to be about Nigeria. Back then, so in 1975, the Naira could buy a car. Today, you're lucky if it gets you lunch.
That's true. I mean, but today, yeah, one tweet also can start a business. And I mean, I think, yeah, Nigeria is not the same, maybe just evolving differently,
I'll feel you. Again, it's the nuance, yeah? So let's do the same thing that we have done with the globe. We can try to make this as quick fire as possible, see where it's going, but we'll pick it one point after the other and see what Nigeria has become now in 2025 compared to 1975. And we're going to start off with the economy, right? In 1975, yeah, Nigeria had a booming oil economy. The Naira was strong. In 2025 now, unemployment is higher. Inflation is crazy. And the Naira is completely dog. I'm sorry, I'm a Nigerian. I love my country. But the Naira has lost significant value. Unbelievable. This is what pushes us not to want to, when you think about going home, you see the opportunity, you see everything that you could give back and all that. When you suddenly think about the Naira and how it allows you to be able to engage with the rest of the world because now you're an international citizen, you know? But entrepreneurship, fintech, also the likes of Flutterwave, Paystack, they're thriving. What do you think the economy stands at today if you would sum it up? Is it better today compared to 2025, compared to 1975?
Oof, that's a tough one. One thing I can say for sure is that I would like to believe that there are definitely better opportunities right now in 2025 than in 1975, for example. But in terms of quality of life, I don't know. We will have to use statistics with this, right? Maybe the percentage of, because then we would have, let's say, population of maybe 40 million or 50 million people as an example, and we had like maybe 40% or maybe 60% people living maybe middle class and above. Right now we are like 200 and something, maybe 300 million people, and still have the same number, but then we have a lot more people who are then poor now than before, if that makes sense. So I would say maybe it's the same, but then we just have a larger population now, so we have more people that are probably not living fine.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you were you're talking about it now, I was just thinking, well, we're talking about the world there was a bit of consistency in this is what's going this way, but with Nigeria, it's actually very complicated, right? Because the economy back in the days as well was under the military regime, and the people that could actually participate at the top of it were already chosen. Do you know what I mean? Now it almost feels like, even though it's not completely free for all, it is a little bit free for all. Do you know what I mean? Very
It's
different
fairer
in
for
that
sure.
sense.
Yeah, it's more fair.
Yeah, slightly fairer. So honestly, I would say, of course, our economy looks worse off, but our GDP is definitely bigger than before, right? It's a very
interesting case because we had a much more diversified economy, and then in the 70s our economy went dog shit, super reliant on oil. We're still reliant on oil today, but we now have the entertainment scene. We now have we have new industries that came up and they survived and boomed. Right? We have the tech industry, and we have this access to the global world now that even allows us to tap into economies that are not Nigerian economy in massive ways.
Yeah.
So honestly, on this one, I would go, it's nuanced, but I would want to go Nigeria economy up compared to 1975 for now.
Nigeria's catch you.
I know. Right. I mean, we have to give a verdict somehow on this thing. So I'll go that way for now.
Yeah, it's a tricky one for sure. But yeah, I mean, I know people have better opportunities right now compared to back then because of the exact reason you gave, right? So yeah. Anyways, so let's go to health. Life expectancy jumped from approximately 37 in 1975 to over 56. Maternal and child mortality have improved but remain among the highest in the world. Access to quality health care is still uneven. What do you think Nigeria's situation is in health right now compared to 1975?
I would say this categorically, better than 1975. Is it good today? No. Was it good then? No. But is it better today? Absolutely yes. And it sounds crazy, I know. But more and more massive hospitals are now in Nigeria able to provide top of the notch healthcare solutions. The issue is only the rich people, or at least upper middle class, can access the best of the best. This is the only issue. There's an imbalance in access to it. But do we have more quality and competition in the healthcare today? Yes, we do. In fact, I was just watching a video. Our Proco doctor went into one crazy healthcare business that just opened in Abuja, Nigeria. Oh my goodness, brother, they had everything in there. They had everything in there. It's a corporation with some government body or a big company abroad or whatever. They had everything. And we have more doctors. We have, because back then, in the 75s, you still have the cases or stories of, the first doctor in a village. The first doctor. Those things are out of the water now. We have doctors, and we are a lot of doctors are leaving because of course they want to do better stuff than what they can do in Nigeria. But we still have doctors that are looking for job, right? But we have produced much more in the healthcare sector that I would say for sure better than 1975. But is it good today? Just to make sure that it's caveated, it's still dog needs to improve, needs to be more accessible. That's my stake.
Yeah, okay. I think I would definitely have to disagree with you on that. Not on everything. Let me clarify. I think you're definitely correct when you said it's still dog shit for sure. And like even back then it was still dog. The only thing that I see, the only point I want to make that maybe makes me then see differently is the number of healthcare workers that we have in Nigeria that are leaving. I think it's a lot. And I do know someone who is in the health care who also left Nigeria, by the way, is in Germany. And yeah, it has some numbers and it's crazy number, bro. Like the numbers are crazy. Like the number of people leaving to the UK, to the US, even to Germany, for greener pastures. It's a lot. And Nigeria is going to suffer for that, for sure. And even though we have this facility and everything, the manpower might still, because the dream of any healthcare worker in Nigeria would be to leave Nigeria.
Let me put this quotation on it. I agree with you that a lot of them are leaving, but I will have to put this quotation on it that we have more medical schools in Nigeria. We have one of the most affordable medical education in the world. And this is the difference between now and 1975. You have almost every university with a medicine department, teaching hospital to teach. We are actually churning out way more doctors than a lot of countries in the world. Yes, we are bleeding. That's our economic situation, because economy is still. If you have studied medicine, you have better opportunities abroad to make more money to cater for your family. However, healthcare compared to then doctors in numbers compared to then. I think this is the caveat, you know.
Yeah, I see what you. Yeah, I think population definitely makes a huge difference in the comparison, right? Because yeah, you might have the numbers like higher now, like number of people living, but in terms of percentage, is it still the same number of people that were living back then, even though they were less? It doesn't mean it's not the same percentage of the population, right? So
I mean, we don't
yeah.
even need to look at it from people that are living, but how many doctors do we still have today per hospital? And how many hospitals do we have? Because people will leave anyway.
I would argue that even back then, maybe people would have to travel like to school or study in the UK, then come back to become a medical practitioner, because we don't really have maybe a lot of schools that that are into that.
Exactly. If you don't do it in UCH, you're doing, you only have these big schools. Now, some private schools already offer medicine as well. We have more federal universities, more state universities. You can do medicine in a lot of places, and it's quite subsidized as well. Please, I caught you in just to quickly chip in there. You please continue. Sorry.
No, I said everything and it's.
Oh, okay. So now we're going to go into infrastructure and technology. If you think about it, we now have internet. And one of the best things that has happened to Nigeria is the potential to leapfrog on technology. We didn't have to develop it, but then we had a president in year 2000 that said, "Oh, let's get into mobile phones. We're going to have internet. We're going to start selling network licenses," and everyone came into the country to provide that for us. So we have internet, we have mobile tech, and access to education, finance is completely different today, right? Everyone on their fingertips now. You don't need to go into the bank, you can study on YouTube now. Oh my goodness, what people are actually learning on the internet now. Just considering the state of Nigeria, the quality of education and access that the internet has provided. However, we still have the question of electricity, road quality, and water infrastructure. This is still a problem. However, compared to 1975, Ibra, do you think it's better today than before?
I mean, I'll just quickly touch on the tech. I think, you said that already, but I just wanted to elaborate. Like, for sure, that's also why I said, like, that there is now a lot of opportunities when it comes to, a lot of things you could go to in terms of business or making money in Nigeria. And it has really helped economies such as Nigeria and India, for example. And I think that's one thing, that's one opportunity a lot of these so-called third world country have now, that really makes them be able to compete globally. And
Developing
and
countries, you mean?
Developing countries. Yeah, so like that's definitely a good thing. I know a lot of people back in Nigeria that give them a shot at a very, very good life, and I'm also a living example of that. But the road quality, power supply, I would argue that power supply for sure was better off. I'm not sure, but that's what I would lean towards for sure. That I would argue that now maybe it's worse. Yeah, I would hear stories from my uncle back then, or my granddad, like, of how even light was even better before that time, and I was just a child back then. So I think with the power situation, it's only getting worse. But now I think it's fragmented in Nigeria. Some people have it better, some people just don't have at all. Some people even have constant one, right? So road quality, I wouldn't be able to tell because I haven't been in Nigeria a while. But if I'm to guess, I would say worse off. Maybe also fragmented, because now I'm seeing some very nice places in Abuja and Port Harcourt and some major cities. I think even Lagos, like, so maybe cities are better off than rural areas, and that'll be what I think is happening. And water, I think it's the same for water, right? I think water, you see that you have it or you don't. I don't think there's an in between. I think there is actually with well, right?
Yeah, especially because now the borehole technology thing has become a little bit more accessible as well. So even though it's not the government providing the water, a lot of people have access to clean water compared to before. And I think, of course, this population thing is a big condition to put into consideration. Because even with the road quality and power supply, there's more pressure on all those things. The country is expanding. Villages are becoming towns. Towns are becoming cities.
Yeah.
And I think that makes an impact. But yeah, I think what makes the Nigerian one so confusing is that it's all just even if it's better or worse. It's shit. You know, power supply is shit. Like, it shouldn't be where it is today. Maybe power supply was actually better. Just from the ratio or percentages from what we have heard. Yeah. Road quality, you are right, with this Abuja, Port Harcourt, in some places it's a bit questionable. But I want to argue that maybe it was better in the past as well, because there was the military regime discipline in place. And maintenance culture was different. If they managed to stay alive, no get no. Because they were cool and all that stuff, right? But for water, I would say it's probably better today, from my perspective.
Yeah. Because, I keep thinking about the population thing. I'm mentally, when we talk about 1975, the idea of the picture that I have in my head is this less dense settlement that are quite serene for some reasons, like the suburban areas of like the US, for example. I think that's how we had it, right? And in my head, I still picture something very decent than what we have right now in terms of even water, like power supply and roads. I think the biggest thing that is the biggest challenge we have for sure is maintenance. I don't think building these infrastructures has been the biggest challenges that we have. But it's like we have it today, but it's no more like in 2 years and nobody's maintaining it. Okay, so the next point would be security. So military coups like were a real threat in the 70s. Today it's terrorism, kidnapping, and banditry. Is modern violence more personal and unpredictable?
Honestly, from my own perspective, I would say it's terrible today. Security is terrible. Of course, Nigeria is still livable. Nigeria is still livable. Life is still going on. But if we don't say that it's completely terrible, we are speaking about the lives that have been lost or that have been affected with this insecurity in such a light way, you know? It shouldn't be happening. And I would make the argument that, yes, military coup in the past, but that affected a very niche group of people that participated in coup, you know? It might change the leader of the country, but at least security wasn't that big of a question. Now we have all this kidnapping and terrorism stuff. We have the herdsmen as well. Look at what has happened in Benue the previous week. I think this is a down. It's dog today. Terrible security today. Unacceptable. No, I don't want to get too animated on this, but yeah, I just say down. Boo to security. Yeah. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely say security is definitely terrible right now, and I'm thinking of the police system. Like, it's definitely it's not. When compared to 1975, I would argue that the security was better off there.
Yeah. Maybe the police officers even had a little bit more discipline and what's the word that I want to use? Shame. Had more discipline and ego.
Oh no.
Was something that actually allowed them to want to be a code of conduct, you know? That wanted them to want to put their shoulders up and say, I'm wearing this uniform as a police officer of this federal republic or of this nation, and I want to do my job right. Sucks. However, I mean, there's something very interesting about Nigeria. Everything is going to crap, but we've always had family and social life, and it's always been very good because we're coming from a very communal culture. Without going into too many stories, I'll ask you directly, what do you think? Are we moving forward with our strong communal bond, even considering urban migration and all the economic stress? Are we moving forward with our communal bond, or are we moving apart?
I would argue that we are still moving forward. I mean, I haven't been around for a while, but I'm very much connected to things that are happening in Nigeria. And I still see how people live. I'm happy to see that whenever there is any sort of festivity, my WhatsApp is like flooded with like status of like, yo, whose house is it today? Who is inviting me? Where am I getting my round meat today? So that is still very much there. And I see even Gen Z and like, like the younger generation still really socializing, still really, I think a lot of them are actually leaning towards a stronger communal living. Like they still have parties, they still, still hang out and all. And it's not like necessarily the same in like in the US, for example, where people are much more isolated in living. And so, yeah, I would say, I think we are moving forward. I think nothing has really changed. We are still that communal people, and I think it's really
I fully agree.
strongly imbibed in us, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. Even with urban migration, like what's urban migration without family? Because you're moving to an uncle's place anyways, and if you don't have family, you're moving to a friend's place to start with. And this is still the case today. So I think from that angle, we're definitely moving forward. If we now include what the economy has led to, with family members now scattered all over the world, it there's been a bit of stress, but there are still too many people in Nigeria for that to even define what our communal structure looks like today. So I would just agree with you 100%. And as an outcome, what would be your verdict for Nigeria?
I would say Nigeria definitely has more tools and platforms than ever before, and but basic infrastructure and economic justice are still really still have a lot of catching up to do. So yeah, I would say we are better connected, but still battling foundational gaps.
Absolutely, man. I agree. I think if we can fix those ones, it's very, very highly. When I'm thinking about it now, there's a lot of this is a huge role for the government to play in fixing these foundational gaps. I can't imagine that if those gaps are fixed, what would Nigeria be? Just thinking about it now, I think there's a
It would
gem
be a
waiting to be
beautiful
shined.
country.
Like
Yeah.
just having this discussion, I've come to the realization that it's it's negative, but it feels way more positive to me than when we were discussing the global perspective.
That's actually shockingly true. Nigeria, I mean, we've always had potentials, right? So it's just a matter of just fixing things and just really trying to make things work and not selfishly trying to, yeah. But politics is just a
Yeah.
very rich system, and I don't think it works anymore. But anyways, that's another topic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very yeah. So Ibra has to go. So what we'll do is like we'll take the United States and the UK in our next episode. For now, we're going to keep it at Nigeria, and we'll end this at the moment. So for the globe and for Nigeria, is 2025 better than 1975? Depends on what you measure and who you ask.
We've definitely gained speed, lost patience, gained access, lost touch.
What would you bring from 1975? I want to see that in the comment section. Or are we better off today? For our next episode, yeah, well, we're bringing a lot of new funny things and fun things for us for next episode. But for sure, we'll discuss what we think about the US and the UK with regards to how they compare from 2025 to 1975. And we'll also be bringing back our reaction session, and we'll be starting with something crazy where we'll be reacting to Andrew Tate videos. See you. Like, comment, and subscribe. This is ThinkTalk, the world of nuances.
Ciao.